Hey everyone, thank you for watching my channel. My name's Amanda, and today we are going to be making gluten-free pumpkin chocolate chip banana bread. And also for dinner, we are going to have gluten-free Big Mac tacos. Delicious. We are going to go ahead and start off by making the gluten-free pumpkin chocolate chip banana bread. And you need 3 ripe bananas, and we're going to go ahead and mash them up. My family has really been enjoying the recipes that I have been making that involves using pumpkin, and this will be such a treat for my kids when they get home from school because they always have a snack right away when they get home, and then we talk about how their day was at school, and then they start homework. So this is perfect having this ready for when they get home from school. Once you have all 3 bananas nicely mashed, we're going to go ahead and take 1 egg, add it into the bowl with the bananas. Now go ahead and mix it nicely together. I am using 100% pure pumpkin that I got from Aldi's. It's gluten-free, and for this recipe it calls for 2/3 cups. The rest that I don't use from the can, I will measure it out, put it in a Ziploc bag, put it in the freezer, and save it for another time for another recipe. You need 5 tablespoons of melted butter, and I zapped mine in the microwave for a good 45 seconds, but you're going to want to let the butter cool before adding it into the bowl. Now that the butter is nicely melted, we're going to just set it to the side, and we're going to go ahead and add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Now you need 1/3 cup of brown sugar. Now you can add your melted butter. It's definitely had enough time to cool down, so go ahead and add it in. Now mix your ingredients together that you have in the bowl until they're nicely well combined. I am using my favorite gluten-free flour, King Arthur gluten-free measure for measure flour. It is my favorite, and we need 1.5 cups of flour for this. Now you can do 2 separate bowls if you would like to, and do 1 bowl for the dry ingredients, mix them together, and then add them on top of the wet. I like doing my wet ingredients first and then adding my dry ingredients on top of the wet ingredients, and then that way once I have all my dry ingredients, I will mix them together. Add 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Add a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. 1/2 teaspoon of salt. 1 teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice, and this is optional, but I highly recommend it. It makes it taste amazing. Now that you have all your dry ingredients on top of your wet ingredients, we are going to go ahead and mix it until it is nicely combined and you no longer see any other dry ingredients. Now that our ingredients are nicely mixed, we're going to go ahead and add chocolate chips. We're going to add 3/4 cups of chocolate chips to it. It's going to be so tasty. Now mix the chocolate chips in, and I'm just mixing until I see them nicely spread throughout the batter. I always try to make sure I get all the batter I can off the blades. That way I don't miss out on any good stuff. We're going to set our batter to the side, and we're going to take our 9x5 loaf pan and we're going to spray it nicely with some Pam spray. I'm not using parchment paper to line it with and pop it out. Using Pam spray, it definitely saves some time and it makes it easier for me. So go ahead and spray it nicely. Now go ahead and pour the batter into your 9x5 loaf pan. This bowl was very heavy for me. It was not easy trying to get it all out, but I definitely finally got it in after a few tries of trying to figure the best way to really hold this bowl. It's nice when you have a nice bowl and it's got either a handle on it or it's not so heavy, but I definitely managed to get it in the 9x5 loaf pan finally. But definitely scrape down all the sides to get any of that extra good batter out. Now that the batter is in the 9x5 loaf pan, we're going to try to wipe down any of the batter that has been like splattered on the side. since we're not using parchment paper, this will burn onto it, so it makes it harder to wash up. So I try to wipe it off as much as I can. And then now we're going to spread the batter evenly in the 9x5 loaf pan so that way it bakes nicely. Okay, now I know we already added 3/4 cups of chocolate chip already in the batter, but why not add some more on the top? I'm going to do a combination of the bigger chocolate chips plus the mini chocolate chips too, just to kind of give it a little nice variety of a look on the top, make it look nice and pretty, and it's going to be so tasty with all this nice extra chocolate. Who doesn't like a little extra chocolate? Anyways, it's going to be really tasty. Look at how pretty that looks with all those chocolate chips on top. And also, I get my chocolate chips from Aldi's and they are gluten-free as well. It's going to be so tasty. Now it is time to bake in our preheated oven at 350 degrees. And I baked mine for 55 minutes until my knife came out nice and clean. I will have the recipe linked in the description box down below. It does recommend 50 to 60 minutes to bake, but look how beautiful that turned out, and it's gluten-free. Everyone's gonna love it. I let mine cool for a good hour to an hour and a half before I flipped it and moved it out of my 9x5 loaf pan, and it popped out so nicely because I sprayed it with a lot of Pam spray in it. But look how beautiful that looks. I cannot wait to go ahead and cut into it and actually try some of it. It's going to be so tasty. I can just tell it's going to be tasty. Look at all those yummy, gooey chocolate chips on top. Ooh, it's going to be so tasty. I definitely let it cool down before I cut into it, but when I did cut into it, it cut very nicely. And let me tell you, it is so soft. It's extremely moist. The texture is just perfect, like how a banana bread should be. And this one has pumpkin in it. It's so tasty. You would just absolutely love it if you made this. My family was very happy with it. My kids were excited to have it when they got home from school. They came walking in the house and they could smell the baked goods already. It just smelled really nice in the house. And look at how soft this is. It's so tasty. I really liked it a lot. My husband even loved it too. He was happy about it. So I'm really happy with this. I will be making this again, and you don't always have to add the chocolate chips into it if you don't want to. I think the next time I'll probably make this and not add chocolate chips into it and maybe do like a glaze on top. I think that would be really tasty too. That way it's nice to switch up your options on how you approach this instead of always doing chocolate chips with it. But look how tasty that looks and how soft and fluffy it is. It's beautiful. And so delicious. Now we're going to go ahead and start on the gluten-free Big Mac tacos. My kids are at school right now, so I want to go ahead and get the Big Mac sauce done. And I am doubling the Big Mac sauce recipe. So we're going to start off with 1/2 cup of mayonnaise. Now you're going to need 1/4 cup of ketchup. In the recipe, it does recommend to make the sauce before you have it and let it sit in the refrigerator. So that's why I'm making it now while my kids are at school. That way it's going to sit for a while before we have dinner. Now you will need 2 tablespoons of sweet relish. You need 2 teaspoons of yellow mustard. 1 teaspoon of white sugar. 1 teaspoon of white vinegar. 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. Lastly, you'll need 1/2 teaspoon of paprika. Now mix the ingredients until they're nicely combined. I have made these before and they are so tasty, but we didn't have enough of the Big Mac sauce because everyone really liked it. So I'm definitely doubling it, and that's why, because it's nice when you already have it made instead of having to whip it up again. Now that the Big Mac sauce is all nicely mixed together, go ahead and put Saran Wrap on it and go ahead and put it in the refrigerator and then pull it out when you're ready to have it with dinner. I am roughly using 1.5 to 2 pounds of ground beef, and we're going to go ahead and roll them into 12 individual balls. And I am doing this while my kids are at school, so that way these are nicely prepped and ready for when I go to make dinner around dinner time. It just makes one step easier when it is dinner time, so that way it's not too crazy in the kitchen when everyone's home and super hungry. Now that I have 12 equally shaped, as well as I could equally shape them, we're going to go ahead and wrap them up and put them in the fridge. It's getting close to being dinner time, so I am pulling everything out and starting to get stuff prepped. We're going to go ahead and start with the iceberg and chop it up as thinly as possible. That way it's a nice crunchy texture to the Big Mac tacos, and it'll be really nice and tasty. Now the recipe doesn't call for grape tomatoes, but I thought this would be perfect by just slicing them up into like little tiny tomato sizes, because my husband and I love having tomatoes on our burgers. And I just thought it'd be really cute being that these are Big Mac tacos and they're smaller, so I thought they'd be cute. So anyways, I just sliced some of these up to have as extra little toppers for our Big Mac tacos. Now we have cute tomato slices for our Big Mac tacos. I'm using some pickles that I made this summer from my garden, and it's going to be really tasty. I am using the dill crunchy pickles, and my kids love them, and so I'm just going to put them in a little bowl so that way then we can have it ready and everything's ready for out on the table for when adding our toppings to our Big Mac tacos. It'll be perfect. We're going to go ahead and add olive oil to our pan. And then we're going to turn our pan to a medium-high heat so it can start heating up. I'm using gluten-free corn mission wraps, the yellow corn tortilla ones, and they are gluten-free. I really like these a lot, and I have used these as well the last time I made the Big Mac tacos, and they're just really tasty. I'm just waiting for my pan to start heating up, and once it does heat up, I'm going to go ahead and swirl the pan so the olive oil moves around the pan, nicely coating it. Now we're going to go ahead and take one of the gluten-free wraps and we're going to place it on the small plate that I have in front of me. And then we're going to take one of the ground beef balls and we're going to go ahead and press it down nicely on top of the wrap. And we're going to flatten it as best as we can so that way when it cooks nice and evenly. Now that the ground beef is nicely pressed on the tortilla wrap, we're going to go ahead and place it on the hot pan, ground beef side down first, and we're going to cook it 2 to 3 minutes. Now just be careful because this is kind of like when you cook pancakes. The first pancake is always the worst pancake. For some reason I always tend to burn like the first 2 of the Big Mac tacos when I make these, just because you're trying to get the setting just right on the pan. So just be aware of like your setting on the pan. I know the recipe says to have it at medium-high heat. You can adjust it accordingly, and then you'll start to get a feel for like how long they should be on the pan for. So well, as I move forward, I started doing less than 2 to 3 minutes down on the ground beef side. So just keep an eye on it. While the one is cooking in the pan, I'm going to go ahead and start getting the other one ready. And I actually was using Alexa to set my timer so that way I didn't have to keep setting my timer on my microwave. And that way it gave me time to wash my hands as well in between by packing the ground beef on top of the tortilla wraps. And then once it's done on the 2 to 3 minutes, flip it over. And then we're going to go ahead and put some cheese on top. I'm using American sliced cheese. Once you get your cheese on top, then you're going to want to go ahead and put your lid on top to smother it to let the cheese nicely melt, and also continues cooking the ground beef as well. And this you're going to let it do for a good like minute to 2 minutes until it's nicely melted. But again, you'll start to see how the process goes as you cook it going forward, and how long you should actually, keep it with the ground beef side down first and then the flipping it with the cheese on top. As you can see, I did definitely burn this one on the side of the tortilla, so it was just a little bit harder, but it was still edible to eat. And so then I decided after the second one that I had burnt, I definitely then reduced my heat from medium-high heat to like a medium, a little around that area. And then it worked better. And then if I needed to, then I would turn the pan back up to get it a little bit hotter, but it made it more manageable to really pay attention of how the heat was going. But then you just keep repeating the process because we have 12 total ground beef balls to go through. So just keep repeating the process of, putting the ground beef side down first and then getting another one ready. I was washing my hands in between, so that way when I would put a new one down or take the other one off, I wasn't getting any meat, raw meat contamination anywhere else throughout my kitchen. Just, you have your pattern of how you're doing this. I also pulled out the Big Mac sauce and I put it in a smaller bowl so that way it was a little fancier, more nice and more presentable than using that big bowl that I had mixed it in earlier. And it was nice because it actually almost all of it fit into that little bowl. There was like a few left still in the big bowl, but this was perfect. And that way I could have it all nicely out on the dining room table for everyone to pick what they want to put on their Big Mac tacos. As you can see, some of the other now Big Mac tacos that I have been making, the sides aren't burnt like the first two ones, so the process has gotten better, and I am also watching of how long I am leaving them with the ground beef side down, and I've kind of done it for like 1 to 2 minutes because my pan is really hot, and then I flip it over and then put the melted cheese on top and then put the lid on top so it cooks more. But you know, definitely just really watch on how you are cooking it because it can easily burn very fast. It does not take long at all for how fast they cook because of how thin the burger meat is. And they are really tasty. I will say my kids really were happy about them and loved them. I definitely be making them again. And, you know, you can even do this recipe where instead of doing the tacos on it and just make like smash burgers in a way, really flatten the ground beef. And then you can still have the Big Mac sauce top on it, but just have it with buns. And that would be perfect as well. I am now down to my last 4 Big Mac tacos, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start getting them like on plates so that way when we go to sit down, everyone's having like a nice warm one. And if I need to, we can just zap the other ones in the microwave. But they are nicely warm still. But this will be perfect. That way, then we all have a nice warm Big Mac taco, and we can go ahead and place our toppings on it that we would like to have with it. And these are just really fun for kids too. It makes it different. I like stuff that, you know, involves the kids with what they like to eat as well, because then, you know, everyone's happy. That's my main goal. I'm a mom of 3 kids, so I always try to make stuff that they're all going to eat. I love making fancy things, don't get me wrong, but definitely stuff that my kids will eat is a bonus. I had forgotten that I did not cut up a small yellow onion to have onions on top of this. This is optional. You don't have to if you don't want to. I like having onions on my burgers, especially when I make these Big Mac tacos that are gluten-free. It's tasty. I am down to my last Big Mac taco in the pan, and I also made tater tots to go with these as well on the side. You can do French fries or tater tots, whichever one you would like. I thought doing tater tots would be fun because we've not done tater tots in a while, and the kids really like those when I make them, so this worked out perfect. Everything is done and ready. All I have to do is just plate the plates and we can take it out to the dining room. Everyone is hungry. They look so tasty. I cannot wait to sit down and have some with my family. Everyone is ready to eat. I'm just putting the toppings on that I would like to have on mine, and then I'll bring the rest out to the dining room table so that way everyone can put on what they would like. But look how adorable and cute those Big Mac tacos look. I love how all the toppings make it look really nice and festive, and they all taste really nice and tasty. But look how beautiful that is. It's nice taking a bite into it. It's so tasty. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed what I made. Everything turned out fabulous. The kids loved it all. Please subscribe. I hope you guys have had a great day, and thank you again for watching. Thanks, guys. Take care. Bye.